Most people in the Western world, and especially in America, simply take for granted that we organize one of the most essential aspects of human activity, the economic sphere, primarily around private initiative, channeled through markets. But where did this presumption come from? So the other day I made a video about books about finance and money, and I got this interesting comment, which naturally I emoted this emoji face with shock and awe because I just didn't understand the comment. This is obviously because I just don't generally think the Bible is a book about money or finance. That said, I actually found an interesting article from a former Harvard University Departments of Economics chairman by the name of Benjamin M. Friedman. Hey everyone, Kenny here, and today I want to break down Professor Friedman's work. Essentially, this is an abstract of a much larger breadth or volume of his work, but I still want to see if we can draw some insights and kind of think about how this might be affecting the markets today. Immediately when I think of this, I think about the GameStop kind of massacre when it comes to GameStop retail investors versus Melvin Capital, and kind of how that might have some intersection or interplay with his thesis. This is Adam Smith, and this is his close friend David Hume. Both are considered the fathers of modern economics and capitalism as we know it. Neither of these men were religious, but they definitely came up during a time where religion was super ubiquitous. What this means is, even if they took a secular approach to capturing how society interacted or acted as a whole, there would have been no way to detach that from religion. Basically, how I'm breaking down what the author is saying is this. In the same way ants are interacting with a complex adaptive system, so too is the economy. So the ant does one thing specifically, but in the colony, it's doing something much larger, more grandiose. So because of how pervasive religion was at the time, I don't think it's a stretch to say that Adam Smith and David Hume both, in terms of how they observed human beings at the time, because of these inefficiencies that they saw, were probably very skewed because of how religion played such a vital role in society at the time. The influence of economics of certain strands of religious thinking, the affinity of some ideas, the instinctive dislike of others, at the broadest level, simply our way of looking at the world of which markets and incentives and economic behavior are an essential part. So as we break this down further, what I'm thinking of here, and again, if I'm using a parallel here in modern kind of finance, one of the things that I want to talk about obviously is party and counterparty risk. And so again, when we talk about GameStop, we talk about Melvin Capital, we talk about those two parties, we address this kind of dislike or disdain for that counterparty. So on the one hand, you got to ask yourself, is this playing itself out again, even though we're so far detached from religion now? Or is this a new kind of secular paradigm? And so I really just want to break that down and kind of look at the stats. So this is a chart showing the lack of religion within generational cohorts, starting with the silent generation at 18.5%. And as you can see now with Gen Z at 44.9%. That said, I think this is a glass half full, glass half empty kind of scenario. On the one hand, you might say, hey, we have definitely come a long way in kind of being secular when it comes to religion. On the other hand, I would suggest for some folks that, hey, more than half of the world still believes in a religion. So, there is kind of nuance to that. So now you're asking yourself, hey, Kenny, if Smith and Keynesian economics are kind of old and stale, what about modern monetary theory? So I'm not really going to go into much of this because I'm not an expert, but essentially modern monetary theory is broken up into four distinct things. There's really government spending, the tax policy itself, the taxes, and money. But essentially all it's trying to say or suggest, and actually I don't even think it's a fair comparable, but what it's trying to suggest is that we shouldn't really think about or focus on paying down the debt. What you should think about is the health and the wealth of the economy itself. We're only limited by the natural resources, that is labor and the resources itself. But outside of that, we really shouldn't worry too much about deficit and the actual spending of the government. So that's just an interesting way to think or to kind of forecast how we may interact with economics in the future. And again, I don't think it's a fair comparable, but I did want to bring it up because I think a lot of folks probably are thinking, about this as I make this video. So I don't think I can unpack everything here in a 5-minute video, obviously, but I did want to kind of break this down because it's of interest to me. And I always like to think about how other folks are thinking about the markets. It's obviously of service to us to kind of inspect and unpack works like this, especially from folks who have thought about this for a long time. Religion is an interesting thing, especially within American society as a whole. Obviously, looking even no farther back than the Salem witch trials, it's a very interesting thing and a very interesting concept in how kind of provocative religion can be and how much it has definitely shaped the narrative in Americana. Hey, what's up, y'all? Future Kenny trying to save this edit. For those who are academically really coming at this in a very kind of hard and deliberate manner, please don't. This is just me thinking through an article that I read maybe a couple hours ago and deciding, hey, it's an interesting article and I want to make a video. To be very clear and to be very honest, it may not have anything to do with religion, and it could be just personality dependent. For instance.
So I want a simple business, easy to understand, great economics now, honest and able management.
All right, back to present Kenny. So bottom line is, what do you think? Do you think religion is still playing a massive role in finance and the economy? And if so, how? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Bye, everybody.